Before we begin, let me just reiterate at the beginning of this 5th part of an 8-part series that you are highly encouraged to visit the Centers for Academic Success to get a better idea of anything we talk about today. We're going to talk about something that I'm guessing a lot of us might have a problem with. That's writer's block. For me, writer's block often comes in the form of great insecurity about myself and my work, and it becomes so severe that sometimes I can't even get anything started. And it can happen at any stage of the writing process. Sometimes we can go on a long stretch of writing until suddenly we hit a block. So first, let's talk for a second about an idea called invention. This is a group of techniques associated with writer's block and pre-writing, and it's often helpful for writers who don't know where to begin. There are a few strategies to it, and one of them is asking yourself the purpose of writing about your subject. For example, if you're writing a paper about school cafeteria food, ask yourself, so what? Why should you write about this subject, and why should anyone read it? Maybe you want the reader to pity you because the food is intolerable. Maybe you want to analyze large-scale institutional cooking. Or maybe you want to compare your school's cafeteria food to a rival school, or even a school on the other side of the country. Another strategy is asking yourself how you are going to achieve that purpose. Determine what type of stance you'll take and what research you might need. And speaking of research, you can alleviate the symptoms of writer's block and generate more ideas by engaging in additional research on your topic. Academic writing is meant to be a conversation, and that involves listening to and reading what other people have already contributed to your topic. And then, generally speaking, you want to let the ideas flow. Brainstorm and get all ideas, good and bad, on paper. Make a simple list of ideas that you can add to over the course of a day if time permits. While we won't have time to get into all these other methods into too much detail, you might also try free writing or vomit drafting, chatting up a stranger about your ideas. Even exercise can help. The idea here is to generate ideas. However, not everyone's writer's block will manifest in the same way, so let's take a look at a few scenarios you might come across and how you can get around them. One common cause of writer's block is just not knowing where to begin. You might try forcing yourself to write, but it just won't come to you. Properly approaching the writing process by engaging in effective pre-writing and invention strategies that we talked about earlier can help a lot here. Try outlining similar ideas and identify any dissenting arguments or disparities in research you find. Maybe you're at a point where you know you're ready to start, but those words just aren't there. For me, I like starting in the middle, literally in the middle of a body paragraph, to write down some random thoughts I might have about my topic, or maybe it's just my thesis statement, and then I'll come back to the intro later on. Another common writer's block scenario is being worried about writing the wrong thing. The important thing to remember here is that the first draft is not the final draft. It's better to continue writing to see where your ideas take you instead of worrying yourself into not writing. You are in control here, so you can always delete anything that you don't like after you've written it. Our best insights often come to us from new or uncertain territory. The thing with writer's block is that you want to be kind to yourself. Allow yourself to make mistakes. Leave notes for yourself as you go, and just be sure to come back to them when you're in the revision stage. It does seem, though, that a large part of my writer's and creative block is the fact that I'm always distracted by my connected devices. If I'm writing on my computer, I can easily fall down the YouTube rabbit hole until 2 in the morning. One extreme solution to this is unplugging your router or turning off any internet connection to your device. No social media, no distractions. But sometimes this isn't always the preferred approach. You can also set yourself a timer. Start out with manageable chunks, like 10 to 15 minutes apiece. Then, take a break for about 5 minutes and come back to it. Work your way up to larger work sessions and eventually you'll have a rough draft. Now here's Professor Travis Cole to give you his top tips about writer's block and invention.
Hi everyone, my name is Travis Cole and I'm an English professor here at CSN. Here are 3 tips to help you avoid writer's block and get that paper finished. First, select a narrowly focused topic. Sometimes, it's tempting to select a topic that's very large and complicated. Often this is because we think it'll give us more material to work with. Unfortunately, this strategy oftentimes backfires, leading to an essay that's just too complex and intimidating. Instead, narrow your focus to a smaller aspect of that larger issue. You'll find that this not only helps you avoid writer's block, but also helps you explore the topic in greater depth. Second, make sure to prepare properly for your essay before drafting. All too often, writers skip over the pre-writing stage and move right onto the rough draft. While this initially may seem like a good way to save time, it can actually leave us lost or stuck in an essay. Brainstorming and outlining before drafting makes this much less likely. It also allows us to skip around to other parts of a paper. So if we find one section of the essay too difficult, we can just move on to another. Finally, make sure to write a little bit each day, rather than trying to complete the entire assignment in one session. Of course, this requires that you avoid procrastination as well. But writing a quarter of a page or half a page, rather than several pages in one session, is far more manageable and less intimidating, and will help you avoid writer's block. I hope these tips prove helpful to you. Remember, select a narrowly focused topic, brainstorm and outline properly, and write a little bit each day rather than trying to complete the paper all in one session. Doing so will help you avoid writer's block and help you craft a great paper.
Well, thanks for sticking around to the end of this video. Again, visit the Centers for Academic Success at any of the main campuses to get yourself out of that funk. See you next time.